I get many people coming into my office dealing with sleep problems, suffering from sleep problems. Probably 80% of the clients that come in are suffering with some form of sleep deprivation, even if it's just slight. In this video, I'm going to show you a few simple steps that you can do to turn your sleep around and have an amazing sleep, and we're going to start right now. Well, hello everybody, I'm Dr. Glenn Harrison and welcome to this segment of Why. This is where we take just a few minutes to answer some of the most common health-related questions that I see in my office every day. So if you are new to the channel and you want to learn more and learn some natural strategies on how to turn your health around, how to improve it, but not only learn how to improve it, but how to understand what's causing your symptoms, make sure you click the subscribe button, hit the bell notification so you don't miss anything, because we're going to be adding more and more content with the weeks and the months go by. So sleep. Sleep deprivation, or I should say sleep problems, account for the number 2 most prescribed medication. It's a big deal. We sleep 20% less than we did 100 years ago. So there's a lot going on, and sleep deprivation drives up the risk of chronic illness significantly. So there are some strategies that you can use that are very effective to start improving that sleep. Now, it's going to take a little bit of discipline. In fact, personally, it's some of my hardest things that I have to implement in my life, but when I'm able to adhere to it as close as possible, my whole day, my sleep, my energy changes. So the first thing to understand about sleep deprivation, or to figure it out on what to do, is where does the problem lie? Is it an inability to fall asleep, or is it an inability to stay asleep? Some people can have both, but can you not, are you having a hard time to fall asleep or stay asleep? So first, and there's different strategies for each and different mechanisms for each. So if you have a difficult time falling asleep, most commonly it's stimulation. It sounds simple, but there's a few different avenues of it, and it's very subtle. One, caffeine, of course. So 2 rules of caffeine that I have, and coffee, I don't demonize coffee, just keep it to the AM, and keep it to only 1 to 2 cups in the AM. Make sure it's not those massive cups, right? We got these crazy big cups. So just keep it to the AM and keep it to 1 to 2 cups of coffee. That's the first rule. Pay attention that you're not dealing with you're getting a bunch of sugar in your diet, too much sugar. That'll also create a stimulant. A lot of medications can be a stimulant as well. So these chemical stimulants are very powerful. Another thing that you can pay attention to or look at is physical stimulation. One is blue light, computer screens, cell phone screens, TV screens, LED lights. If you're getting too much of that before bed, or any of it before bed, it creates neurostimulation, and this is blue light, the frequency of blue light. Now, you on your iPad and your tablets and all that stuff, all that digital, now they have blue light filters. Okay, so ignore that stuff. That's not enough. You got to actually stay away from it. So stay away from all that stuff, the blue light, screen light. Stay away from it for 1 hour before bed, and then allow 8 hours to sleep. So it should be 1 full hour of decompression, no blue light, no stimulation, and then allow for 8 hours of sleep. Now, whether you need it or not, give your body the opportunity. So that's one form of stimulation, the chemical and then the blue light. Then there's another form of stimulation. I see it with many people. It's a time where they feel right before bed they can catch up on tasks. Okay, whether they have little kids like moms and dads, and they're trying to catch up on everything, and it's like a marathon. Then they go lay in bed, and then they're thinking about it. Well, naturally, they're stimulated enough, just like the blue light or just like the caffeine, where they don't get into true REM sleep. Okay, they're still in a very superficial level of sleep, and they don't get recovery. So they could sleep 8 hours, but it's like their body only had 4 hours because they're not getting into that depth of sleep. So stimulation, those forms can be very, very powerful if you remove them. I get a lot of people that pull out the screen time, that 1 hour before bed, and then they start dreaming. That's because they're finally getting into recovery sleep, true REM sleep. So stimulation is one. With regards to that, that's the inability to fall asleep. Sometimes another thing can be a problem is adrenal dysfunction and high cortisol and low melatonin. High cortisol, the hormone cortisol, prevents you from falling asleep, and cortisol works opposite of melatonin. So, there's lab tests. I'll even have a video at the end here where you can learn about your adrenals and health and how they can play into it. It's not that common, but it can be something. Now, the second problem with sleep, that was inability to fall asleep. Now, inability to stay asleep, that's a whole nother bowl of wax, that one. Sometimes it can get a little more complicated. The things that I see with inability to stay asleep, the first thing you should rule out, I'm not saying everybody that has this, but rule it out, is make sure you don't have Lyme disease. Lyme disease is common for people unable to stay asleep. Now, there's so many things. We can work with people all over the country and out of the country and send you resources and how to diagnose that and send you in directions to treat it, and we can manage it. But Lyme is one thing, but it's not that common, really. Number two is blood sugar. Blood sugar. I always talk about blood sugar because it's so important. A lot of times people wake up between 3 to 5 in the morning. If you're one of those people, you wake up, you don't know why you're awake. A lot of times you can fall back asleep, or you go to the bathroom because you're like, well, my blood, I kind of feel like I had to go to the bathroom, but you just went to the bathroom because you felt your bladder was starting to fill up. That wasn't the cause why you woke up. Sometimes it is, but not always. When blood sugar drops in the middle of the night, adrenaline kicks in and it wakes us up. And adrenaline inhibits hunger, so we don't even feel hungry. So the solution to that is, and pre-diabetics and diabetics can be high risk of that, or hypoglycemics, people with too low blood sugar, or just certain diets and stress responses we run out of blood sugar in the middle of the night and we wake up. The solution, or a strategy you can try with that, is eat high protein snack right before bed. Try that. That's filling up your blood sugar fuel tank so you can get through the night. Try that. Another thing you can do is if you wake up, have a little bit of protein beside the bed. It could be peanut butter, some nuts, something like that, to get that blood sugar back up. If you fall asleep right away, well, then it's probably a blood sugar problem. And that plays into adrenal glands, adrenal fatigue. There'll be a video after this one. You click on and watch that. That'll give you some insight on that. So that's a big thing. Blood sugar crashes. And some strategies to address that are for inability to stay asleep. Sometimes inability to stay asleep is due to so much stimulation. You don't get into true REM sleep, true deep sleep, and any little noise or any little sound wakes you up. A lot of people describe that as, I'm a light sleeper. Now you're a stimulated sleeper before you went to bed, and naturally you're not getting into that depth of sleep. So something to consider. Another thing a lot of people don't forget or they're not aware of is alcohol. So substances, chemicals can do this. Alcohol is very good at allowing you to fall asleep. But what it does is it prevents you from staying asleep. So stay away from alcohol. If you have a drink every evening, that's going to play into your sleep all the time. So try staying away from alcohol. That is going to help. And then don't ignore supplementation. This can be a problem. I see all the time, melatonin. Everybody's taking melatonin to fall asleep. It helps you fall asleep, but it screws up your cortisol and your melatonin rhythm. And people wake up in the middle of the night and they don't know why. So melatonin has its place, but not like we used to think melatonin. Now we know, in my office, we don't prescribe it very much, and if we do, it's very little doses with something else. So those are some things you can do specific to your concern. There'll be videos on some of this. Now, there is some supplementation that you can do to use to help your sleep. There's something called, it's a product by Zymogen. It has some CBD in it, depending on what part of the country and the world you're in, whether we can ship it there. Most places we can now, but it has it's a product. It's called Sleep Spray. There's a little bit of CBD in it. I recommend taking that right before bed. That can help you get through. There is a little bit of melatonin, but it doesn't throw you off. And then there's another product. I'll put a link below and description below, and that's called Serenity PM. There's some ingredients in it that is very helpful to fall asleep and stay asleep. It doesn't screw up that cortisol, melatonin, adrenal rhythm. So anyway, and I hope that was helpful. There's going to be some videos right here that are going to talk about some sleep and some adrenal issues. Highly recommend watch those so you can get the rest of the story in those videos and fill in the gaps. But sleep is a nutrient you can't replace. And we can run on very little sleep. I've done it in my life, but the brain starts shutting down and the body starts struggling. So I hope this was helpful. I look forward to talking to you next day where we're going to answer the why to another health-related question. Have a great sleep.